Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 346 of the Mark and Me podcast. As always, I'm your host Mark. Now joining me on today's episode is the frontman from a really unbelievable British rock band. Yes, I'm joined by Ross Gordon from Cold Years. Now I'm not going to sit here and suddenly claim that I was the biggest fan of this band. I only discovered them about 12 months ago. I've seen people tweeting about them and posting at their shows, but I've never got to see them live. But I have heard their albums, especially their brand new album, and honestly, it's absolutely awesome. It's out now and it's called A Different Life, and it's blown me away. And I say this a lot on the podcast, but I think that's how good British music is right now. At this time, it's one of my albums of the year. We might only be in May, but it has absolutely blown me away. The songwriting and the lyrics by Ross are just unbelievable. And this band are getting huge. They're not just big in the UK, they're getting a huge name for themselves in Europe, America, and they fully deserve it. They're so good. And I think the best thing to do right now, because I've talked enough, is to get to the interview with me and Ross. So here's me and Ross talking all things Cold Years. So Ross, thanks for joining me today on the Mark and Me podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Ross, what I love to do with all bands that come on is for the listeners out there get an idea basically of how it all started for you. So when you were growing up, can you remember those first albums you bought, maybe with your pocket money, or first CDs you bought, maybe a friend passed it down to you that made you fall in love with music?
First CD I ever bought was All Killer, No Filler by Sum 41.
Nice.
That was the first CD I bought with my own money. First song that made me realize I wanted to play in a band was Surrender by Cheap Trick. I think I remember
Wow.
my dad, he's got a huge record collection like me now. But being a kid and like sitting on the floor in my parents' living room listening to records like at a really young age. I think it was about 6, first time I heard that record, and it changed my life completely. And I'd been playing guitar since like 4 or 5, like I was really young. Like I just remember being really encouraged as a kid to just do that. And I remember being 6 and turning around to my dad and being like, I want to be in a band one day. And yeah, it was an
I suppose he
obsession.
was really encouraging because he loved music himself.
Yeah, he was never a player, but he's a lover of music. And I still go hang out with him all the time and still listen to those records. And all my friends are playing football and and doing all that, and I was sat in a bedroom trying to figure out how to play Come As You Are. Like it was kind of just like what happened, I guess. Mm.
So did you know literally at such a young age that was all you wanted to do and that was the only thing you were going to do? You couldn't imagine doing a 9 till 5 and all that?
I mean, I have a 9 to 5, but it's
Yeah.
not it's not through choice, it's more through necessity. But yeah, I remember being a kid and being asked like, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a policeman? Do you want to be a fireman? Do you want to be a joiner? Do you want to be a plumber? Do you want to be this? And just not really having any real direction with it. And then kind of going through school and refusing to go to university because I didn't want to admit defeat. And in that area, I wanted to play music. That was it. I didn't want to do anything else. And kind of having jobs through, having to pay bills and stuff. But, for me, the path was always that. It's always what I wanted to do. So, yeah.
Did you kind of do the route that everyone did and kind of get in a band at school and college and do the whole battle of the bands and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I had this really cool teacher called Mr. Burse who he ran the music classes that I used to go to, and I used to skip like the last 2 periods on a Friday, and me and some friends would go into this rehearsal space that we had in school and just play music. And the maths department used to call down and tell us to turn it off, and that he would just pull the phone out of the wall and ignore them and just let us do whatever we wanted. It was great. Yeah, all the
What
way
about
through.
what about live music? Because I say this on every episode now, but I was very lucky. One of my first ever gigs was Green Day at Wolverhampton. I saw them on their Dookie tour, and it blew my mind that 3 musicians could make that much noise. And I've always been a fan of that band, but it was on their Dookie tour, so it was before they kind of got an extra session musician, a guitarist, and
They were just phenomenal. And I was wondering what that first band you saw was that made you think that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
The first live show I saw was Gary Moore, who used to play in Thin Lizzy, and I was massively into blues as a kid, and he had this record, The Blues Alive, that I used to listen to, and like I remember that was my first experience of a live performance. Actually, my first experience of like a band that I would consider to be like something I wanted to do. It's the same as you, but it was Insomniac. It was a year
Oh,
later,
nice.
in 95, and I would have been 7 years old. So it like that. I remember seeing them. I'm actually seeing them for the first time this year since then. Because every time I've tried to get tickets to see them, we've always been on tour and I've always had to sell them at the last minute. And I'm kind of hoping nobody can book us in June because I'm not missing them.
Oh, right, they're doing the two albums back to back, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. So yeah, yeah.
So Green Day was one of the first for you as well.
It was. Yeah. I think, it's funny. People always ask me, like, what's my favorite Green Day record? I would still consider Insomniac to be. I don't know whether it's because it's the first thing I saw them do live or whether it was just because, like, that album from such a young age, like, I had all those CDs, I got them and just my dad was a fan of them. And I think it was weird how it kind of had an impact on me. But yeah, yeah. First
So
energetic show I saw.
I don't know the full history of your band. I can read online and go there and see all the stats and stuff, but it doesn't interest me. I'd rather talk to you. So Cold Years are about to release their third album, but where did it all start for you guys? Did you meet after uni, or when did you kind of form this band?
We all kind of, well, me and Finn and Louis, we all kind of like hung out in Aberdeen. We all played in other bands. Like we had a really, really great live music scene growing up as teenagers. And then it kind of made sense. I was writing some songs back in sort of 2014, 2015, and wasn't going to do anything with them. And then we were all on a night out one night, and I kind of just said, starting this band. And like I'd already told each of them that the other guy had said yes already. And then we kind of all together. And then within about 6 months, we recorded our first EP, and then it kind of just went from there. Yeah.
Did you kind of want to have any kind of goals to achieve? Were you, because obviously around there you must have been in the scene with bands like Hell is for Heroes, 100 Reasons, Biffy Clyro, Vex Red, Ruben, all those kind of great bands that came through. Were you kind of setting your expectations to match those kind of levels, or did you just think we'll just go out there and do what we want?
No, I think we just kind of wanted to go out and play. Getting people who were reliable or competent to play in a band for me was like a new thing. Because, when you're younger, you always have like weak links and stuff. And this was like we were all individually good at what we did. And I think it was the first band I'd played in where, you could show up and everybody knew the songs and like, everybody knew how to record and like how to demo music. And for me, I didn't really care what we did. I just cared about playing live. That was it. It's all that mattered to us. It was just getting out and touring. Didn't really have any real ambition to take it any further than that. I think it was always just let's go out and play as many shows as we can, and then kind of just went from there.
So when you started doing these early shows, were you starting to notice, even though you're inside the band and kind of on it, were you kind of seeing the crowds growing each time? Were you kind of, oh man, there's not just five people here tonight, it's doubled and then doubled again. Were you kind of seeing that kind of natural growth?
Yeah, but more so in Europe, I think, than the UK.
Yeah.
I think in Europe, when we first went to Europe, that's when the gloves kind of really came off, and it was kind of like our first show was this tiny little place in Hamburg called the Astra Studio. Actually, just closed down, which is devastating for me because it was a really cool punk club under a subway station in Hamburg, and it was really, really cool. And I think it was like 100 cap. First time we played it, sold it out. Second time we went to Hamburg, we couldn't play that venue because we'd outgrown it. Third time we came back, we played Head Crash, which is like a 400 cap room. And I mean, we're playing it again this year in October. Um, and for me, it's great to see that kind of natural progression. I think we really saw that in Europe, like hugely, specifically in Germany. For some weird reason, I don't know why that part of the world for us has always kind of grown. Every time we go back, we play new territories and play bigger venues. And, for me, That's awesome. That's always been like the goal. And for some reason, it always kind of hits me a little harder when it's people in different countries that are paying money to come see your band. Like that's wild. So yeah. And then
I
we
was going to
played.
say, do you know why? I wonder if you could put your finger on it. Like, what is it about those countries or Germany and stuff that are just responding so well to what you're doing?
I think it's maybe because in Europe it's slightly marketed differently. Like in the UK, like if you're not on the front cover of Kerrang or Rock Sound and you're not like doing something that maybe a lot of other people are doing, it's maybe harder. And I think in Europe, there's such a strong punk scene, and we played all these festivals. Like that's the thing, you would play festivals and meet people, and then those same people that came and saw you at festivals would come see you play in their city, and that is just slightly different, I think. And that was a real kind of really great platform for us to grow in Europe. Sorry, my dog's barking. I
Mine was
apologize.
doing the same a minute ago, so we'll make it Dogcast.
Dogcast, yeah.
So
Yeah.
going into the release, obviously as we're sat here right now, the world hasn't
Mhm.
heard it, but A Different Life is there. People have got the couple of singles to kind of get a feel for what you're about to do. But I've seen some interviews you've done for Kerrang and spoke about you're really proud of this and kind of see it as some of your best work, which is always great.
Yeah.
But I think a third album's always difficult because you've released that debut, you've then had
Mm.
to kind of top it or do something different for your follow up. But that third album, you have a bit more freedom, I think. I think you can you found your feet, you've got the fan base, you've laid your foundations. Was it challenging to go into this album?
Yeah, I think on this one there were no rules. And I think that was the thing for me. There were no rules on this record. We were able just to go in and give every song its own personality and its own character and really grow it from that point onwards. Which for me was huge. I think we didn't want to go in and write 12 songs that sounded the same. We wanted to write 12 individual songs. So there was definitely much more freedom this time around.
And obviously, this is off the back of not being able to do what you wanted to do and have kind of a couple of years in lockdown and not be able to do what you're kind of here for.
Mm.
Did it feel like a complete release? Did it feel like fucking it now? I'm not going to ever take a show for granted. I'm going to kind of make the best of everything we do because it could be the last one.
Yeah, and that's why we went to New York to make this one because it was like we can do that again because we
Yeah.
can travel again. Let's go to a different country and make a record. Let's go and push ourselves as hard as we can and take the time to write this in the way that we want to and be open to deconstructing it and building it up again. We had like 30 demos for this record and we split them down to 12 and Brett, who made the record, forced us to strip them apart and rebuild them from the beginning. There was a lot more care, I think, put into this one than maybe on previous efforts because we had the time and we had the right people in the room to do that with, I think.
And what's it like moving forward? Are you kind of, I don't know the full details, but are you trying to tour as much as you can now and get this album played live?
We're gonna play every single track of this new record live,
Oh,
which I,
amazing.
I am so stoked on. I mean, we're touring a lot, so we're out in May doing some headline shows and then some support slots with the Dangerous Summer. We're doing some shows with Billy Talent, and then we're going to be away in Europe in September and October, which we haven't announced yet. And then we're going to be going back to the US and then like doing all this other stuff. And there's some cool support stuff in there too. It's bigger than we've ever done. And I think, for me, like it's just we're just going to throw everything at it. And the live show is going to be it's going to be more challenging for us, but that's the thing, it's the challenge. Like playing for like an hour and a half, 2 hours on headline dates. We've never done that. It's always been like 45 minutes to an hour. Now we're just pushing ourselves as hard as possible and going for it.
Su- Supporting a band like Billy Talent, for me, one of the best that have ever done it. I absolutely love that band. They're a powerhouse. One guitarist, I still can't believe how well he does. What's your mindset going into a show like that? Do you kind of give yourself half an hour to win that crowd over, knowing that they bought tickets to see Billy Talent, and you've got that kind of golden ticket to hopefully see some people leave that night with a vinyl of yours or a T-shirt or I'm going to listen to your band when I get home.
I approach every single show the same way, which is that It doesn't matter whether it's our show or someone else's show. I want to give them something that they're going to remember. And for us, it's about engaging the crowd and getting them to participate in this because live music's supposed to be fun. It's engaging. We're all there because we all love rock and roll. And to me, that's the key to this. I couldn't care less if I play to 10 people or 2,000 people. We approach it in the same way. And it's about you only got a very set amount of time to convince someone to buy into what you're doing. And for us, that's just done through participation and engaging with people because you know, I don't know about you, but every time I go and see a band, I always watch the supports.
Yeah, every time.
I do that every time because you never know who you're going to discover. But a lot of people don't do that. So the fact that, these people are taking time out of their evening that they've spent money on to go and watch Billy Talent or whoever it is that we're supporting, the fact that they're coming to see us, that to me is incredible. So we give them everything every time. And that's how you have to do it. And okay, sometimes there's a shameless plug around buy a record because it helps us get to the next city or, puts food in our stomachs. And I hate doing that, but unfortunately that's just how music is now. Live is how you get from place to place. But for me, it's all about enjoyment for the people who are there to watch you. And, rock and roll is king, live music is king. It's the best environment to enjoy music, in my opinion. And I want to give those people as much of what we have every time.
Are you already looking at the future knowing that there's ideas you might have now and demos for album 4, or is it just let's just focus on a different life, tour it, play it, get every track on the set list, do the best we can, and then look at it, or are you always writing?
Always writing. I carry an iPhone, which has the ability to unlock. I mean, I think that definitely changed. When I first started writing, it was a notepad and a pen. Now, I mean, I got Logic. I travel with a laptop. I'm forever sitting in the van writing. I've got millions of notes on my phone. They're just rough cuts of songs or hummed in melodies in a voice recorder. I think being a creative person, that never stops and you're always thinking about what's next. For us, we want to do an album every 2 years or every year if we could. So we've always got stuff in the bank to bring to the table if that happens.
And going to New York and recording the album, did you feel like it had an influence on the sound or a change in the way you play just because it's an exciting new place, it's different, it's not your hometown, it's a new environment?
Absolutely. You absorb what's around you, and a lot of the songs that we went out there with in demo form changed completely because of our surroundings, and being with Brett and in that environment, it was just incredible. I mean, I remember the night before we started recording the record, he took us to a hardcore show in Brooklyn and we went and saw H2O. And I remember just being in that room and going, oh my God, I'm watching H2O in Brooklyn. There's Toby Moss, like over there. There's Josh Brolin outside smoking a
That's
cigarette.
amazing.
Like it was that kind of like environment. And yeah, and it's that beautiful part of America where it's like, I mean, we recorded in New Jersey, which is like 45 minutes out of New York, and you have this beautiful old Americana, like old ice cream parlors and diners and like, drive-ins. And then you've got New York City on a train away, which is just an awe-inspiring place. And like, yeah, for me, like the whole thing it was just this incredible, it was like living in a film, I think. And it absolutely inspired so much of the lyrical content that changed dramatically when we went over there. And even just the music, it all changed completely just by being in that environment. I also ate far too much pizza, but I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily.
I went there with my dad and it was like $1 a slice and it was like, oh my God, this is the greatest pizza in the world. And I'm like, "Ah, that's like 70p."
We went to this place in Brooklyn called Paulie G's, and they did a Detroit slice pizza, and that changed my perspective on pizza eating forever.
Yeah.
I'll never go back.
It's sad, isn't it now? Because nothing ever like matches it.
No, like buying a pizza from the sad little kebab shop down the corner just doesn't feel the same as going over there and getting it for $1 a slice. Yeah.
So now you have to make sure you do album number 4 in Brooklyn.
I've already made it completely clear that we will hopefully go back to the
Yeah.
same place and do the fourth one. I don't think I could do it anywhere else. Yeah, I say that now, like perspective changes things, but I think where we're at right now, I'd love to go back there and do it again. Um, yeah.
Is this the best time, like mentally, that you've got a new album coming out? You're about to embark on a huge tour. You get to play with the legends, Billy Talent. You get to go back around to Europe, America. It must be a pinch me kind of moment, thinking the next 6 months are going to be wild.
The next year and a half is going to be wild, and I
Yeah,
can't wait for all of it. And for a band that's come from where we've come from, we're not a hype band. We're not a front page of every music publication in the UK band. Like we have to work at it, and we don't have the power that some of these bands have. But for me, it's about going in there, working as hard as you can, being trusted in your own art and being confident in your own ability and just hammering it as hard as you can and getting your head down and working. Because to me, like with something like this, you'll never work a day in your life because all of it
yeah.
is just so great. And that's, we're a bunch of friends who never thought we'd get the chance to do this, let alone still be doing it now. And seeing the places that we've seen and the places that we're going to see, like it's just an incredible, incredible time. And I'm so grateful to just have the chance to pick up a guitar and play it, like let alone to do it in front of people. So yeah, I'm really, really, really excited. All of us are. Yeah.
How do you kind of manage the work-life balance then if you're now still working in a 9 to 5 and then you're like, boss, I need 18 months annual leave, you know?
Um, through being a good person and from knowing when to call in the right favor and
Yeah.
working hard when you are working. I work remotely a lot. I work in the Scotch industry, the Scotch whiskey industry. So I work for an incredibly progressive company that affords me the right to do this. I'm very lucky. Um, there's things like unpaid leave and
Yeah.
working in the van, which I mean, when we were in the US, I was working 4 days a week on top of recording 18 hours a day on a 5 hour time difference, which
Wow.
it almost cost me my voice because I speak for a living. And I came home and I ended up with vocal nodes and unable to sing for 3 months and went through all this stress and had to go into speech therapy and I mean, it's a tough road, but unfortunately now with the way music is, like you'll know as well as I do, the majority of artists out there, we all need to work on top of
Yeah.
this. The money's it's not 1984 anymore. You're not getting 100 grand in advance from Sony Music to go and blow on partying. It's like it's a different world. And I'm very lucky to all four of us are lucky to have the ability to do that and work remotely. And we all do. There's downtime from tour. Previously, would I love to sit in my hotel and
Yeah.
drink and watch baseball? Absolutely. But instead, I'm sat at my laptop till 4 in the morning working because I have to, and that's how it is. But
I think people forget that as well. When I was at 2000 Trees last summer in Arctangent, I was interviewing bands and I'm kind of like, so what are you up to next week? They're like, well, we're back at work on Monday. And I'm like, what? And people forget that, some of the, not you, obviously, you Bring Me the Horizons and bands like that, but there are bands that are still on those stages, on the main stage, maybe in the afternoon slots, that are still working and kind of getting annual leave to play those shows in the summer. And it blows my mind. And I think a lot of the listeners out there and people that go to these gigs don't realize that actually they're going to be back at Subway on the Monday making sandwiches or doing what they can to allow them this time to then live this dream.
yeah, and a lot of my favorite artists do that, it's something that's, one of my friends, Sam, he plays in a band called Static Dress, who Sam played on our last record. Static Dress are really breaking through. I mean, they're touring with Bring Me the Horizon. Those
I've
guys will
seen that
still,
as soon as you said the name, I remember seeing it on the poster.
yeah, I mean, he still works a regular 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll have to, you know, come off tour and get a new job or quit a job to go on tour. I've been there before. It's I think at the end of the day, as long as you know that you're doing it for the right reasons, and I think especially now, given that music is so difficult. I mean, Brexit has made touring in Europe exceptionally difficult for new bands. We're really lucky that we have a label to support us. I think if I was doing it on my own and I was just starting out now, I have no idea how I'd do that. I think it's an incredibly stressful and difficult time, and it's the reason I always, I go and see a band, I'll buy their merch, I'll pay for records or for shirts. So, that kind of support goes a long way. Or if a band that I like is releasing a record, I'll buy the pre-order. Like I'll do those things because live music in this world right now is a really uncertain time. Streaming it's a necessary thing now, but it definitely has impacted revenue stream for artists. And live is really how merch and playing live is kind of now how you make your living from it. And I think it's exceptionally important to go and watch bands live. It's more important than it's ever been now to do that. Because if we
And
don't, we're
even and
not going
even
to have
yeah,
any new bands coming through. It's like,
and all the big venues and are filling up every night, but those smaller venues where the bands are playing, they're not getting, they're closing down all the time. And I think a lot of people forget as well that some venues are taking half of the merch money, or
yeah, and I found that out the hard way. In Europe, I think it was the most we've given was 25%, but
yeah,
certainly, okay, some of them are taking, some of those academies are taking upwards of 50%, which,
that's grim.
again, it's grim, but again, that's a that's a that's a circumstance that they've been put
Yeah,
in, and then, you know, I think there hopefully will be a way soon where everybody can win and everybody can make a living. But right now it's really tough. And I think, a lot of these venues are still feeling the after effects of COVID and, the industry itself is still feeling that. It's going to take a while to recover. Um, certainly. But yeah, I just hope that there is some longevity in it. And I hate, my hometown, we've lost almost all of the live music venues. That's why we moved away. So, they were all getting closed down for apartments. It's a real
it's
shame.
so sad. Yeah,
It's horrible. Yeah.
I'll be up at your area for do you know the Barrowlands? I'm going to be there for Biffy Clyro in, I think it's October.
Mm.
So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully that venue won't close down in the next
That
six
venue is,
months.
I'm playing there in June.
Yeah,
It's an incredible venue, but it, it's like spooky. If you've ever been in the dressing, like the backstage area is like, it's like haunted. It's like a thing in Glasgow. It's awesome, but it's like a super vibe venue. It sounds incredible, but it is a really old building. And yeah, I think it's one of the better sounding venues in Scotland. I love it so much. It's great. You're gonna have a great time there.
my final question for you today, and what I try and do to make the podcast as original as I can, is ask the guest on the spot to choose a song they'd like to be played as the outro. So once the edit
Ooh,
is all done, you get to choose any song by any band in the whole world. You've probably got 10,000 songs in your head, but I think one always breaks through and comes to your heart or your soul before any other. And I think there's always a reason. So I'm intrigued today what your choice would be.
let's choose let's choose one of the new Green Day songs off their new record. I choose Coma City.
Lovely. That's a nice 360 moment.
Yeah, there you go.
How you getting on with the new album? I haven't had much time with it yet. There was that and Blink came out at the same time. And I was kind of like
Yeah.
driving and listening to quite like bits, but I haven't had time to really, completely digest it.
As a fan of their entire back catalogue, I will say I think it's probably the best thing they've done since American Idiot. And
Wow.
yeah, it's a
That's
it's an
really
album
exciting.
album. It's an album. It's one of these things where the album tracks I would say are stronger than the singles, which is
Yeah.
great when that happens. I love when that happens. But it's great. Yeah.
Ross, I really appreciate your time today. I'll try and come and see some of your shows in a couple of months if you're playing anywhere near here. I'm kind of
Mhm.
Wolverhampton, Birmingham area, so
I'm playing in Birmingham in May. I'll see you
there
in
you
May.
go. I'll come down, I'll buy you a drink and put a face to a name. It'd be
I
lovely.
actually rehearse in Wolverhampton.
Really?
Our drummer's from there. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
They've just
Yeah.
opened a couple of new venues there. There's this KK Mills and the Wolfen and Civic, and it's like starting to get a bit of a scene together now and getting some bigger bands, so it's quite a nice time.
Used to play in the Gifford a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. Down there. I was down there this weekend, drinking in the Hawksmoor,
Oh,
Hawksmoor, I
nice.
think it's called. I don't know. I was drinking Guinness in there. Nice. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure I come and grab you a Guinness and come and see
Oh,
your show.
awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
So there it is. There's my interview with me and Ross from the awesome band Cold Years. And I hope that after today's interview, you take the time to go and check out the band's brand new album or any of their other albums. Go and see them on their UK tour. If you're in Europe, go and check one of their dates. They are absolutely awesome, and I am making it my priority this summer to go and see them because they've blown me away on record. I truly believe A Different Life is some of their best work they've ever done. Now I've spent the last few weeks listening to them heavily. And I think that overall, Ross is just a lovely guy. He's really humble, really down to earth, and one of the best songwriters we've got in the country. And I can't wait to see just how much this band's going to grow, get bigger, and hopefully gain the respect and the loyalty that they deserve, because they're just fucking awesome. And I think you've got that by now by listening to how much I've been bigging them up. But they really are that good. And as always, guys, if you've enjoyed today's episode, why not share it? And if you're new to Mark and Me and you've only just discovered this because you're a fan of Cold Years, well, hey, welcome aboard. And there's nearly 350 episodes of this podcast available for you now to go and check out. It isn't just a music podcast. It's got actors, film directors, all different people from all different walks of life. And I really pride myself on that. Also, if you want to go that little bit extra and not just share the episode, times are tough. And I'll be completely honest, I don't make money off this podcast. It's my hobby and I absolutely adore it. But there's running costs involved, which are quite high. So I do have a Patreon account. I've recently set up a brand new website, markandme.com, and on there's a link to the Patreon. For people that are new to Patreon, it is basically like giving me a tip. It's like going to a restaurant, having a good meal and saying, do you know what, that podcast was pretty good, and basically giving me a couple of quid at the end of it. That goes right back into a pot. That money then gets spent on hosting the podcast so I can go on Apple, Spotify, all these different directories, because that costs a lot of money. And also travel the country to do interviews, because I love to do face-to-face interviews when I can, and traveling obviously costs a lot of money too. Also, if you've really enjoyed today's episode, why not go on Instagram and hit that little heart button, go on Facebook and hit the share button, or go on Twitter or whatever it's called this week and hit the retweet button. Seriously, it makes a massive difference. Now, this week is pretty busy, and I can promise you there's going to be 2 more episodes before the week's out. They're both music, they're both phenomenal, and the next guest is huge, and I can't wait, because I've been waiting to get this guest on the podcast since I started. So I'm going to end now with saying goodbye. I urge you all one more time to go and listen to Cold Years. A Different Life, like I said, is out now, and I think it's one of the albums of the year. So all I'm going to say now is look after yourself, take care, and I'll speak to you all very soon.
The planet